Hello, and welcome to Safe as Houses, your trusted guide to making your biggest assets safer so the next disaster doesn't decide your future. We're your hosts,
I'm Kate.
and I'm Alistair, and this is where you can learn about the natural hazards that may affect your home and what you can do about it now.
In this episode, we'll cover who we are, why we're making this podcast, and what we'll be covering in future episodes. So, we should probably introduce ourselves. Alistair, how did you first get interested in natural hazards?
Well, I think the best way to explain this is to tell you a bit of a story. Mine starts in year 10 geography class back in the UK in my hometown of Bath, where my geography teachers were teaching me about volcanoes, quakes, including the Kobe 1995 earthquake in Japan. It was in that class that I remember I had the realization that disasters aren't inevitable, that the impacts associated with natural hazards can actually be reduced. And there were certain design choices that really stuck with me and things that I thought, we can do something about this. So it kind of led me down this path. And some of those things included the fact that in Japan, way back in 1995, there were mechanisms such as lifts receiving earthquake warnings, and this enabled them to stop automatically and open the doors on the next floor so that people's lives were safe. And that led me through to a career path doing a geography degree in the UK. I then worked for a flood consultancy in the UK before I moved over here to New Zealand to complete a PhD in disaster risk and resilience, where I undertook some research on community and infrastructure recovery after a future alpine fault earthquake. So since then, I've now been living and working in Wellington for about 7, 8 years on natural hazards, and that's what's kicked all this off for me. How about you, Kate? How did you get into this space?
I think it's super interesting that for you, the first realization was around disasters are inevitable. I can't even say that word.
Inevitable.
Inevitable. Nearly. Because that was a similar thing for me, but I was actually at university doing a paper with Professor JC Gillard, and he was talking about how natural hazards are not natural disasters. And the fact that there's so much that influences like a natural hazard becoming a disaster. And I think that's what got me really interested. The fact that, people don't have to experience the heartbreak that comes with losing their home or even people dying from some of these natural hazard events because there's so many things that we can do to reduce that risk. So I sat in his class at university and then ended up doing my master's. And then, got my first job and was coordinating research on the Hikurangi subduction zone, one of our New Zealand's largest source of earthquake and tsunami risk, and have also worked, as an emergency manager across a number of different events as well. So the passion has definitely continued on from then.
And I guess it's probably worth saying how we know each other.
Like, I definitely remember hearing your name because you were studying research on the Alpine Fault,
Yeah.
which is one of our large faults in New Zealand, and I had a friend at the time was also doing her PhD. So I think that's definitely how I know your name, but I'm not exactly sure when we met. Alistair, do you have any ideas?
I think similar back in the haze of when people meet. Who knows, eh? Like everyone knows everyone in New Zealand. This is, I guess, the first time that I'm probably going to be working on something together. So it's kind of pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, so exciting.
Kate, go.
So I guess that kind of comes into why are we making this podcast? And I think after a couple of conversations of you and I talking together at various conferences, we realized we had the same frustrations and also probably motivations. There's so many different things that we can do to reduce those impacts. And part of that is also talking about it so people are aware and understand their risks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's where this podcast comes in, right?
100%. And, people hear about the risks. They know they should do something about it. Life gets busy. Something else happens. And then nothing actually really changes. And so this is around making it easier, making it interesting, also making it less overwhelming as well. We're going to have real stories, practical, relatable stuff that makes sense to you. And we want to bring in stories from people all across the country around their experiences of, events that have happened to them, and also expertise as well, because we want to kind of shift it from this is something I should do to this is something I am doing, and making it, more natural part of what we do.
100%. I think there's so much knowledge that we have natural houses here in New Zealand, that there's things that we can do, that maybe there's something in the back of my head, there's something I should do. And then sometimes you get around to doing one or two of those things, but then there's a bunch of things that you kind of go, she'll be right. And or like, actually, I looked into that once and then life got busy and then I just didn't look into it anymore. So this is hopefully going to be a venue where we can kind of bring together some of that knowledge of other people and how they have been tackling this problem that we're all kind of facing.
100%. So a little prompt, a little reminder. And so, Alistair, you came up with our title for the podcast, Safe as Houses. What made you drawn to this title?
Well, it's play on words and it's a fairly Kiwi phrase. I think, knowing that something's safe as. And so I thought it might resonate. But also, I think people think and want their homes to be as safe as possible for a variety of reasons. It might be that your home or the property that you own is an investment in your financial future, or it's simply where you live all of the time, where you're raising your family. But the problem is the safety of your home or that property something that you've actually been thinking about? And that's something that we want to really tap into in this podcast. We want to really explore, like, have you actually considered your risk and what have you done about it? If you're happy and comfortable and aware of the risk, that's where we want everyone to be. But so many times when we talk to people, they might not be aware of something. And when they're not aware of it, when we speak to them, well, when I've spoken to a bunch of people, they've moved, taken their chimney down, they've decided to get a grab bag by the door. Like, there's loads of things you can do. What did you think of it, Kate?
So, gonna be really honest with you, Alistair. I was pretty unsure about it at the start, just because what safe implies. And so for me, the question mark is what changed everything. Because, safe as houses, it sounds pretty certain. For most people, our home is our safe place. For some people, that might not be the case for them. But I guess the question mark turns into, are we safe, as houses? Is our home safe? Because for some people, they're surprised when they have a meter of floodwater through their house, or they're surprised when they have a chimney through their ceiling. And for most New Zealanders, it's such a dream, to own your own home. And so for those of us that do own our own homes, our home is usually our biggest financial asset as well. And so I think it's really important that we look after it as well, because sometimes it's a decision that we make and it's made and we kind of move on, but really we need to continue to think about it as well. So this podcast will always kind of connect back to houses and our home, but we also want to make sure it's not just for homeowners, it's for people that are thinking of buying, it's even for renters as well too. And what we want to do is we want to bring stories from throughout New Zealand, such as those people that have been through insurance processes, or who are engineers or scientists or emergency managers or insurers as well, to hear their side of the story. And so everything links back to the home, but we want to make sure it supports you when things go wrong, not just when everything's fine.
Cool. So how's this podcast going to work? Well, we're planning episodes every couple of weeks to start. We're both absolutely new to podcasting. So we're going to try things and we're going to be learning as we go. But what we also really want to be doing is learning from you guys who are listening. So we want to know the topics that you want covered. We want to know the stories you want to share and anything you've done, big or small.
We have got so many things that we want to talk about that I think it's going to be hard to keep us both. But we promise to have one topic per episode.
Yeah, and we're going to do bite-sized chunks. And what we're going to try and do, I think what's really exciting about this area is that we have lots of things that we want to talk about. And the real thing we want to get from this podcast is to build a community. And we want to know, how do we get from that, I think I might, maybe I should, all the way to I did that thing, and then it made me feel more comfortable with the risk. So that's where we want to be heading in that direction. So if you've got any of those ideas for us, please contact us. Our contact details are in the show notes. So Kate, do you want to wrap us up?
For sure. So in this episode, you've learned who we are, why we're making this podcast, what's coming next, and how you can be involved. So please give us a follow and a share, and we'll catch you the next time.
Bye. See you next time.
Yeah.